Welcome to the Revenue Agency. In today's special edition of Coach's Corner, we dive deep into the stories and strategies of extraordinary coaches who are making a genuine impact in their communities. Each week, I bring you authentic voices from diverse niches, coaches who have faced their own challenges like burnout and brokenness, and turned those experiences into powerful catalysts for change. I'm Brittany Hall. Join me as we explore their journeys, unpack valuable insights, and discover how they've transformed their struggles into lessons that empower others. Whether a coach yourself or simply looking for inspiration, you won't want to miss these heartfelt conversations that illuminate the path to resilience and growth. Let's get started. All right, welcome to the Revenue Agency podcast. My name is Brittany Hall, and this is a special episode of the Coach's Corner. Today, I'm joined by Dave Frost, who I was so honored to meet probably, a couple years ago. And he just has an infectious energy. He's an amazing person, and he's done some really incredible stuff. So Dave, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. That was a great introduction. Very nice of you.
Oh, yeah. No, I just remember the first time I met you, and I was like, this guy is hilarious, so
Yeah.
engaging, just, it's really fun when you do different things in your career and you get to meet really great people, and you were one of those people for me. So,
Well, thank you. Yes, it was great.
yes, I'm excited to just dive in.
Yep.
And, I know that you and I have talked about leading people, building teams, the funny things that happen with that. But I want to start first just with your background. And I think I knew this, but when I was reading your bio, I don't think I realized how extensive your military experience was. And so
Yeah.
I would love for you to just take us back there and just kind of tell us a little background on you.
Sure. Well, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, so going back into the north. Now I'm out of I live in North Carolina. The military brought me to North Carolina, so I stayed here. Way better weather than Cleveland, so that's why I stayed here. But yeah, so I always like to tell the story that I was really a D student. I wasn't very good at school. I was very athletic though, good at sports. I went to college, played 2 years of college, junior college baseball, and then I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. Kind of felt lost. I knew I didn't like school, and I knew I wasn't good at it. So really early on, I knew kind of my strengths and weaknesses to a certain extent. So I
Yeah.
joined the military, and that was the best thing that could have happened to me. I think it structured me, and it gave me a lot of I was always competitive because I was in the sports. So the military kind of gets you in a mindset that I think a lot of people don't know of, right? Like they kind of break you down and they build you back up when you're in your basic training or boot camp. And then after boot camp, you feel kind of invincible. I mean, I did. I felt like I can get through anything. I mean, I thought at that time I battled through probably the toughest times in my life. Like, whoa, this is tough,
Yeah.
but then once you get in this, in your job and in the service, then you deploy, you go to training, you're out in the field, you're away from family, you miss birthdays, you miss holiday. There's a lot of things that go into that where the military structures your mindset to
Mm.
still be able to function, even in some of the toughest times that you can even imagine, right? So I joined the military. I was in the military about 13 years, long time. And I started out on tanks. So the big tanks that shoot and move and communicate is what they call it. And, I'm a smaller guy. So I fit pretty good in them things, but even me, it was a little tight in there. So, but, you're always training to go to combat as a tanker or infantry guy. I mean, that's really what you're there to do is go to combat and win in combat. And we
Yeah.
were always in the field training, meaning we'd be out at a month at a time, and you live out there like camping, but a little rougher.
Mm.
And I just knew I was like, I don't know if I really like this. I want to be in law enforcement. That was my goal. So the Army has a job called, Army CID agent, which is the equivalent of the NCIS TV show. That's the
Oh.
Naval Criminal Investigative Service. So we're the Army. The Army Criminal Investigation Division is equivalent to them, and we do the same thing. The TV show is a lot more exciting. Got more explosions and all that stuff, but ultimately we do the same work. And I had a good time there. I was a regular special agent. I started, and you investigate all felony crimes. So I investigated drugs to drug dealing to sexual assaults to
Mm.
murders, bank robberies, fraud, counterfeits. I was
It's
trained
all within the military, right?
all within the military. It had
Okay,
to have
so
an
it's like,
Army nexus.
yes, okay.
So like if you were a service member and we knew we figured that you were using drugs or something, we can get you, but then we'd also flip you to help us get, even if it's a civilian, we can target them, but then we got to coordinate with the locals to help us. So
Okay.
I worked a lot of joint investigation with the city police, sheriff's departments, FBI, ATF. I mean, the bank robberies we were working, it was weird. I felt like there was something in the water at that time because service members, these Army guys, were out there robbing banks. I mean, it was like for a
That's
couple months.
crazy.
It was weird because, I was an agent for a long time and I probably worked 4 bank robberies in 10 years. Those 4 came like right in the same kind of area. And I'm like, or same time frame. I'm like, what am
Yeah.
I doing? But so the FBI's, that's their deal is bank robbery. So we work with them a lot on those. But it was an interesting career. I was hostage negotiation qualified. I was protection, protective service, so like the Secret Service. CID agents also are trained to do the same job, and we guard the Secretary of Defense. So, like,
Mm.
Pete Hegseth now is Secretary of
Yeah.
Defense. Those are Army CID guys guarding him.
Oh,
It's not
wow.
Secret
Okay.
Service, it's Army CID and his family. And then we guard this, Secretary of the Army, their families, things like that. So I was trained to do that. I was, trained in all kinds of, different investigative techniques. So had a great career.
Yeah.
Um, and then the big thing for my career is I was part of the Jessica Lynch case. If you go back and if you're old enough to remember that case where she got captured and some of her convoy some of them got executed and they
Mm.
were captured and killed in combat. I was part of that war crimes team that went to Iraq in 03, 04, and we investigated war crimes against Saddam Hussein, basically. And so part of that was I did some of that investigation. We did a
Wow.
lot of the bombings that happened over there, the UN bombing. If you go back and look at that, my group was there helping the FBI recover the bodies, fingerprint the body, process that scene. And then we also did all the investigations for like the mass graves. So we dug up a lot of mass graves with a lot of the Kuwaitis who came over and we're missing family members, so we did a
Wow.
lot of that while we were there as well. So interesting time. I had a great career there, and then I transitioned out into real estate, and that's where
Yeah.
I'm at
So
now. Yeah.
how did you land on that? So you're discharged, I'm assuming, or
Mhm.
retired or whatever. And
Yep.
then you're like, okay, what's my next move? How did you get into real estate? Like, how did you make that decision?
Yeah, no, great question. So while I was in the military, I had started investing in a sense. So I would buy a home that was a foreclosure,
Hmm.
and then I would live in it. And then I
Okay.
would flip it while I lived in it and then sell it and then buy
Hmm.
another one. And then I got to a point where I was in one and bought another one, and then I flipped that one on its own and sold it. So I started doing and dabbling in real estate as an investor and
Yeah.
that type thing. And then I thought, well, if I'm gonna get out of the military, then that would be something I would love to do. And I didn't know if I wanted to be a real estate agent, but I knew I wanted to do real estate. So I thought, well, as I started talking to more and more people, they said just get your license,
Hmm.
and then you could pretty much do anything you want. You can list it
Yeah.
yourself, sell it, buy, your
Save
own.
a lot of money, right? Being
Right,
your own
takes yeah,
agent.
save
Yeah.
all the money. You can write your own contract. So I said, okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so here I go trying to get into a school thing again. Bombed my first time in real estate. Bombed. It was terrible. I didn't take it seriously. I hardly showed up for the courses at night. I was still in the military, by the way, though.
Mm,
And
okay.
bombed the course. And then I missed a retest. I thought it was one day. I came a day late, like a dummy. I don't know. Right. And then
Yeah.
so I had to go back to real estate school. I had to pass and I passed the test and then got my license and here I am. So now I've been in real estate almost 12 years. I've
Okay.
been a team leader. I've have my own team since probably about 2016. So it's
Hmm.
been almost 10 years of that have been a team leader. And then of course I created my own training platform, which is Rainmaker
Yeah.
University for real estate agents. And I train agents and coach agents in different states as well, and
Yeah.
still sell. I still sell. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you like the real estate more, or do you love the like coaching and training more? Like, do you have one that like this is cool, but like I really have a passion with this?
I have a passion more now for training agents and speaking and
Mhm.
coaching. So,
Yeah.
I love selling and dealing with, helping people buy or sell, but I've done it for a long time and I've done it very successfully. I'm very lucky to, my lowest year ever selling, I sold 14 houses and that was my first year.
Mm.
Since then, I've averaged 40 a year.
Wow.
So, and then my team has averaged, 80 to 100. So
Oh
we
yeah.
do a lot of business, a lot of transactions, and that's good, and I'm grateful for it. But now I love to help agents create wealth and learn the business because it's totally different from school to actually doing real estate.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that it's so funny because I always, when you were saying, I struggle with school, I thought, well, probably throw rock at most entrepreneurs. And
Mhm.
like, because typically entrepreneurs aren't real structured and they don't really love people telling them what to do, which is why they work for themselves so
Right,
much.
right, yeah,
So,
yeah, no,
it's like
absolutely.
that fits. I'm curious, the skills that you learned in the military,
Mhm.
and like you said, the military definitely has a way where they like break you down and then build you up because they're preparing people to go out and like be in life or death situations and have to have
Right.
confidence in that they're going to come out alive, right? Or like run into a situation.
Yeah.
But leadership in like the world outside of the military is very different. Like you can't do that with people. So, but
Right.
what are some things that you took from what you learned in the military and leading over there and collaborating and working with different people? What are some of those things that you've kind of like drawn comparisons to over in what you're doing now? Like some similarities, I guess.
Hmm. Well, here, the funny thing, what I always tell people when I speak as well is I didn't realize going from the military and a criminal investigator into real estate was a lot of similarities. Okay. So
Mm.
just different conversations, right? So, for instance, when I first started in real estate, I door knocked, right? As a
Uh-huh.
CID agent, I door knocked and we conducted canvas interviews. If there was a crime that happened, we want to see if anybody saw anything. I'd have to go door knock or I'd have to talk to people about uncomfortable things. I'd have to make a lot of phone calls and try to gain information. I'd have to
Yeah.
research. So all of that from the real estate side is the same. It
It's
transitions
sales,
over.
right?
Yeah, we've got to prospect for
I got a
leads.
kid.
We
Yeah.
yeah, we got to call leads. We got to follow up. We've
Yeah.
got to, talk to people that we don't know, right?
Yeah.
So
Just the
it
sheer discomfort. Like teaching people to be uncomfortable and do it anyways
yes,
is one of the hardest things. I think it's like you just got to do it. Just
absolutely it is. So what I think transferred over and what I've taken from the military that's helped me in business is I have basically a go-getter attitude, right? I kept the mindset. Every agent I train, I start with the mindset first, and then I go into scheduling. I try to give them a base first before even looking at sales, because
mm,
if they're not thinking correctly, and showing up for your business is one. You've got to show up and do things within your business. You know,
yeah.
you a lot of real estate agents, our career is basically second or third careers for people a lot of the times.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. See
some
that?
of them come in and they're not really looking at it for full time, but they expect full time income,
Yeah.
right? And you can't do anything less to get better. Like it just doesn't work that way. So
No.
I think that I brought that in is you've got to be a go-getter, you've got to hustle, you've got to have grit, right? And that's why the book I wrote was The Grit and the Grind,
Mhm.
surviving and winning big in real estate. And that was part of in that book, I go into that. Like you really got to have grit in life. You've got to battle through adversity, right? Especially as a
Yeah.
business owner, entrepreneur, or leader,
Oh, yes.
constant, right? It's
Yeah.
things aren't always going to work. And you've got
No.
to bounce off,
Nobody's
figure it
here to
out.
help you.
Right, exactly right. You've got to figure it out.
They're
Yes. So, it allowed me to learn grit. It allowed me to be mentally tough. And real estate is a very, up and down business for most. And emotionally, it gets difficult for the people because emotionally, people hang up on them or they're not receptive to them or they turn them down or they list with somebody else and said they were
Yeah.
going to list with them. Like there's a lot of emotions or deals fall through. You're like a week away from getting paid $8,000 or 10,000 or 20,
Yeah.
and then it falls through, and you're like, I just lost $20,000.
Yeah.
So internally, it's hard. If you can't deal with that, it's going to break you down pretty fast. So the military really helped me with that stuff. Though that stuff doesn't really affect me. You just got to keep moving on, and that's how I train agents on my team and other agents. You got to
Yeah.
keep moving, stay steady, and even be scheduled. You got to be scheduled with what you do.
Yeah. Well, and I love that because as you were talking about, just how hard it is. And I think anything really worth doing in life is hard. Being in shape is hard. Having a good marriage is hard. Parenting is freaking hard.
Right.
Building a profitable career is hard.
Hmm.
And that's one thing we teach our kids. And I know I think we have kids the similar age, but
Hmm.
I tell them all the time, like, you got to be tough. Like your
Right.
teachers aren't always going to be nice to you. They're not always going to give you the benefit of the doubt. It's like your friends are going to be jerks sometimes. Kids might pick on you, but like you got to be tough. And I think
Right.
actually a lot of adults are missing that. Um,
Yes.
and I blame the parents.
Yes.
But
Woo.
I mean, and even, I see it just even on Facebook, oh, this person's picking on my kid. I'm like, teach your kid to punch that person in the face.
Right.
I
Look,
mean,
I agree.
you know,
100% with you. 100%.
so I'm curious, like, as you're working with adults, and I've worked with a lot of young adults in the different careers I've had, and then I've worked with actually a lot of like middle-aged men, and sometimes I
Yeah.
think they're the biggest babies. Like, I'm like, nobody taught
Hmm.
you to be tough. Like, what is
Yes.
happening? And then there's guys like you don't fit into that category. But how do you deal with that? Like, do you help people toughen up, or are you like, you know what, you don't have what it takes to be on my team?
Well, man, this is
It's
so
like a loaded
funny. You
question.
would you would think that we just talked about this. So just recently, well, let me get. I don't tend. I've had people come to my team, more females. In my market here, it's female dominated. It's
Mhm.
not as many males.
Yeah.
So I've had more females on my team, right? And I have a few on my team now that are just sharks. I
Oh,
mean,
some women, man, because they
they
can handle a
they
lot on their plate.
oh man, they are bubbly, nice, internally, rip your head off, competitive, go-getters. And I am very lucky that I have the couple on my team that I have. I love them to death. All respect. Now, I've had men on my team, now get this, that were Marines, because I'm in a Marine market. So I'm in a military market. So
Okay.
we're by Camp Lejeune, the big base, Marine Corps. Now I was Army guy, and I moved up this way because my wife was also military. That's how we
Mhm.
met, and she was stationed here at the Special Operations Command here at Camp Lejeune. So when I got out, and then met her, and well, we were already dating and things like that. But when we married and stuff, we stayed here. But anyway, so some of them, I've had Marines on my team where they just couldn't cut it. Exactly that emotion, and I always, and
Yeah.
for me, the good and the bad with me is I'm gonna help you get through a lot of the things that you need to, and I'm gonna coach you to do it. But I don't have a lot of sympathy for emotional, things that you just got to let go. Like you were saying, like I
Yeah.
always tell my kids the same thing is words mean nothing. But in this day and society, it's like words are everything. And it's doesn't if words can be everything as long as action follows, right? If there's no
Mhm.
action to any word, it means nothing, right? I
Yeah,
can,
it's no
right?
good.
Me and you could say we're going to be the most successful business partners and we're going to make millions of dollars and we can say it all day, but if actions don't happen, then guess what? We really just are talking, right?
Yeah. Well, and there's a
So,
lot of that, I think, across all industries, just in the world in general. It's like talk is easy. I mean, that's where the phrase, right? Talk is cheap. But
right.
it's like showing up and doing the freaking work when you don't want to, or even when you do want to, or it's like
That's
that's
it.
the effort. And I always say like effort is sexy. you
Mhm.
know?
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
like in a business part, like it's attractive and not, I don't mean in a sexual way, but it's like
Yeah.
it's attractive, like, yes, like I'm a worker, you're a worker, we agree on this, like we can do
Right.
business together. And so I think
Absolutely.
really when you're looking for team members, um, that's really what you want to look for is like people who have those same, like they're in alignment with you. And it's hard, I
Absolutely.
think I would say to people too, and I'd like for you to speak to this as well, is when you're new to building a team. It's
Mhm.
like, I feel like, you're like, "I'll take anybody."
Yes, I did that. I did that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Mhm.
you learn, and I think that's like, you have to go through that, but I think that the quicker that you can not be needy in building a team for people, you can go, "Wait, do you align?" Because you're gonna save so much time and energy if
Right.
you pick those people that are like, it's okay to say, "You know what? I don't actually think that my team's the best fit for you."
Right.
But, so have you had to deal with that?
Oh, plenty. Oh man. I mean, look, I think it was me in the beginning. I got out, I was a go-getter. And
Yeah.
then real estate is, like I said, most agents are not producing. Like last year, the statistics are like 74% didn't sell one house, not one.
Oh,
And
man.
I mean, we have like over 3 million licensed real estate agents in the US. So, that's a lot of real estate agents that sell one house, right? So most are not productive or successful in
Yeah.
sales. So, but yes, when I first started, and even a couple years, from now, even my team will tell you, my two agents or my three agents on my team will tell you that what my weakness is. I feel like I can get everybody over the hump.
Yeah.
I got you. I can help you. All you got to do is what I tell you to do and do it this way and get in my Rainmaker training course. And, we have an 8-week kickstart program is what we call it. And just do the program. You'll be fine because they will.
Yeah.
Problem
Yeah.
is they won't do it. They do some of it or they do it on how they want to do it. And then it ends up being, like you said, it drains me because I'm trying to pull them in a direction that I
Yeah.
know they should go, but I know it's going to be successful, but they're pulling a different direction. So
Yeah.
that was a big weakness of mine is I felt like I could just can help everybody. And I actually wanted it more than they wanted it for themselves.
Yes.
And that's a
Yes.
big weakness that I had. So I had to get away from that. And basically now I look for those who are swimming towards me. If they're not
Mm.
swimming towards me, I'm not swimming to get them. Right. So
Yeah.
that's one piece that we don't do. The second piece is their effort has got to be there. It's one of the things, as you know, too, as a leader and coach, right? Is we can't, I can't coach effort, you
Mm.
know. I can try to motivate you and get you excited about, yeah, today's the day, but
Yeah.
you've got to bring that. And I always say to team members on my team, as long as I can see your effort and that you generally care and are trying, I will I will fight with you to the end. But when
Yep.
I don't see you every day, or I see you every once in a while, I notice you're not following up with leads. I notice you're not, it's just what it's going to be. I just can't keep hanging on to you to try to pull you in our direction. So,
Yeah, I remember being so frustrated because, if you bring on a new team member, and I was in the network marketing space and built a pretty big team and like a
mhm,
health and wellness company. And, people come in and it's the talk is cheap thing, like, oh, I have these goals. If I could just make enough money to put my kids in private school or pay off debt or, whatever their goals are. But then the second they run into something that's hard, all of a sudden that stuff doesn't matter anymore, which I've never
yeah,
understood because when I want something, like there's not going to be an obstacle that's going to stop me.
right.
And so it's challenging because I know those people are out there, and it's funny when you meet the person
Mhm,
that will run through those obstacles, it's like you can go so fast and you can build
mhm.
and it's exciting. But like you said, when you have the people that don't show up or they're like, "Well,
Right.
my kid has the sniffles, so I can't get on Zoom." It's like, "What?
Yeah,
What?
right.
What?" You
Yeah.
know? Uh
Oh, yeah.
so it can be really frustrating when you're not wired like that. It's like, and then
Right.
there's resentment that builds, and then it's just this thing that's kind of cycles out of control. But when do you think it's time to let go of somebody, like a team member? Do you have that conversation or do you just let it naturally disintegrate?
Well, good. So, couple things to that. That's good. Sometimes I will notice it usually within about 2 weeks. I can
Okay.
figure out if it's gonna how it's gonna go, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So sometimes here's what's weird about my team, right? And some of the ladies are on my team and my top age, they always say it's so funny that most people come to our team for the accountability. And
Mm.
those same people leave the team because of the
Because of the
accountability.
accountability.
Like it doesn't make any like I guess
They're like,
you probably
whoa,
heard
not this
this.
much accountability.
Right. I mean you've probably heard it, but for me I'm like, you know what? That's so true. that's what they wanted. They want us to structure them. They want help with their schedule. They want us to tell them what to say, how to say it, when to call, give them our 7-day follow-up, give them, and then you give it to them and then they don't do it. And then
Yeah.
it's like, then they stop showing up and they stop, it's like, what just happened here? And then when you reach out, like, hey, where you at? What you doing? Oh, well, I just don't want to do this then it's like their goals change from what they originally wanted to do and why they were with us initially.
Yeah.
And that's what I always say. We never change. We've been here for 15 years. I've always been the same, basically,
Yeah.
adjusted certain things, but the agents will change and
Yes.
it's fast. And like you said, you brought up a good point. I've had agents come to me crying, needing loans, not being able to pay bills, yet they've never worked on a Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
They've never called the lead more than 4 times. Like I'm like, if it's urgent, then it should be urgent. Like if I was you, my urgency would be, I got to get going.
I
I've got to
gotta
either
hustle.
yeah, I've got to work longer. I got to get in earlier. I got to work on days other agents aren't. I just did a video for agents about that. Like, what are 4 different ways for a new agent or struggling agent to outproduce a top producing agent, and it's really about time. It's coming in earlier, staying later, working with it or not, and doing more of what they do.
Get more reps.
Yeah, I mean, if I know you're successful, Brittany, and you're doing 5 podcasts a week, then I'd say, guess what? If I wanted to be that, I'm going to do 10 podcasts a week because
Yeah.
she's already successful at 5. If I do 10, man, I could
Yeah.
probably, it just, but somehow it doesn't sink into a lot of people and
No,
can't do
I
it.
know, and
No.
I think it's habits, and I think that a lot of people, it's almost
Mhm.
their little like an ego survival mechanism that it's like when you push them to a place where they're uncomfortable, they retreat or they have to learn how to break through. And
Yes.
what I've always found is funny is then if you remind them, well, hey, you told me this, and you coach them and you hold them accountable, then all of a sudden you're the problem and you're pushing
Always.
too hard, and now it's your fault.
Right. Always.
Like
Always.
like you said, it's like, I've always been the same. I was the same when you came in, and I'm the same now, but,
Yes. I
it's
mean,
just it's
you
interesting.
came, a lot of them will come to me. Like I'm not calling them. Like, they'll come to, hey, I see your videos, I see your training, I see your other agents on how successful they've been. That's what I want. Okay, well, come on. Like I didn't change. This is how I've always been, and this is why we've had success.
Yeah.
You and that's what I, had an agent just recently, and I was telling her, I said, and I let her go. And I told her, I said, look, you know, if I was going to join, like I'm a big football guy, and my team's the Pittsburgh Steelers, which, oh my God, they drive me crazy. But if I was going to want to join the Pittsburgh Steelers, like that would be a dream. I
Yep.
wouldn't join a successful organization to do less than what they're doing or
Mm.
show up when I wanted to show up or come late to practice. I would have so much respect for them, one, giving me the opportunity. Two,
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
all I got to do is just align with them and just do kind of what they do and run the same plays they run. I'm not going to call my own play when they're going this way, I'm going this way. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. You
Or,
know,
"Hey, you have a successful playbook, but I have an idea. Have you ever thought about this? I've never done this before, but I should."
right. Or I've
That's
been
always
doing it.
classic.
Like real estate agents, they will run off the same cliff for comfort, like you said, versus going down an uncomfortable way that they never went, but it's going to be successful. And it's a proof of concept. I have proof of concept of it.
Yeah.
They'll look at that like that makes no sense to me. I'm just going to go still do that. And they would just continue to do that,
Yeah.
and I
And
just, I
I
don't
think
know.
that's I mean, that's not just a real estate thing. I think that's a people thing, that it's like it's funny. I was talking to my mom the other day, and they have a gal that was working for him, in her 20s, having a baby, just getting married, like just
Mhm.
starting out really like in adulthood. And my
Mhm.
mom and dad have been in business successfully for over 40 years. Successfully married, raised 5 kids. They've done
Awesome.
really well for themselves, like I mean, you can see the results.
Hmm.
And they were talking about buying a house, and she's like, "Well, we're just gonna rent." And my mom's like, "Well, why don't you maybe look into like a first time home buyer loan?" Like giving her some advice. She's like, "No, I think we're just gonna blah blah blah." And I thought, how many times do we have time with people who have done something that we would love to do or love to emulate, but we don't even listen or
Right.
or put ourselves aside for a second to go, maybe they know something I don't know because A,
Mhm.
I don't have the experience, or B, I don't have the results.
Right.
And I think that's
Big
just
time.
I guess I would encourage people, maybe assume that you don't know.
Hmm.
like the best
Yeah.
way, you know?
And I think the quickest way to the top is finding the person that has already been there, right? Has already done what you want to do. And then you just gotta fall in line. I say fall in line because that's like a military term. It sounds a little rougher, but it's not like
But
you're gonna hit you with a whip, but you should just fall in line with their guidance, right?
yeah,
And then listen, right? I always say, learn to earn, right? First
mm,
learn from people, then
yeah,
earning will come, but you've got to listen, learn, and adapt to what you're being taught and implement
yeah,
it. And then
yeah.
you'll start earning. It will come, but people just want to jump right into earning, and they think that's the way to go. They don't care what you tell them, as a
Yeah,
leader.
and no one's entitled to anything. Like, just because you got your real estate license doesn't mean you're gonna blow it up selling houses. Like, you gotta get in there.
Right. Yeah.
It was interesting when you were saying that, like, fall in line. I actually like, the image that came into my mind was, when you're riding. I don't ride bicycles outside, but
Hmm.
I was thinking about the idea of drafting actually, and that
Hmm.
idea is in a lot of different things, but it's like you find the leader and then you get behind them and your ride is going to be a little bit easier because you're following them. And then at some point you're going to gain the strength and the ability to come out and let others draft behind you. And
Yes.
so I just wanted to share that because I was like, that's actually a really great analogy for what it is.
Right. And I always say this when I talk to agents too, like they're unsure of where they're going to go, like what firm and what team and whatever. And I always tell them one of the good ways to look at things is look at the leader and their umbrella,
Mm,
and especially in real estate. So like in our market, if an agent tells me, and here's the difference again, as a real estate agent being former law enforcement guy is I know my competition. I've researched all of the other top agents where
mm,
I know what makes them top agents.
yeah.
Right. I know I can, if somebody gives me a name, I could say, oh, well, that agent, she is primarily a new construction.
Hmm.
She's got subdivisions and that's what she's really good at. This guy does this. Like I can tell agents that. So
Yeah.
most agents get in our profession and they're very simple based. Like there's no strategy, there's no scheduling, no structure, and they don't know their competition either. So so I always try to tell them you've got to know where you're going or why you want to go there. And then if there's a leader there, look at the leader's umbrella.
Yeah.
And that's what I always tell everybody. If you want to come to my team, I can tell you my umbrella, which I have probably 7 other top agents in my market now that I trained from zero. They had zero production. Now they're all selling 30, 50 homes a year. They're all
Wow.
competition of mine now, but they started with me and I'm very proud of them.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of me being able to help them get where they are. But that's, look at the umbrella of leadership in an
Yeah.
organization.
Yeah. That's a really good thing. And I love that too, because it's also like you said, you know what your umbrella is. And
Hmm.
in the coaching space, we teach that. Like, what's the thing that makes you different? Like,
Hmm.
what's your special thing? Because a lot of people can sell houses, right? It's like,
Right.
but that's not what makes you special, is that you can sell houses. But it's like there's
Right.
something that makes somebody successful. And it's not that they have a real estate license. It's like
Right.
how
Yeah.
they do it. So
Hmm.
that's really cool. I was curious, what some of your like, do you have anybody that you love that you kind of subscribe to in the leadership and coaching space that's like an influence for you and like your continued learning? Like, do you like, I mean, I met you through
Hmm.
coaching stuff, so I know
Right.
that you're always working on yourself and improving, but is there
Hmm.
anybody that you really like love and follow that you've
Well,
learned?
there's a but. I mean, I'm a big. This is so. Maybe it's weird. I don't know. I'm a big YouTube guy. Like,
Oh yeah.
I have young kids, so I have a 10-year-old daughter, and then I have a 5-year-old son. So in between, like they're in bath or going to bed,
Yeah.
that's what I watch. I watch YouTube or sports. I don't really watch any TV. I don't watch any movies. Pretty boring there. If I watch a movie, it's usually a documentary of something
Yeah.
I like, law
You're like, I'm
enforcement.
learning something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my team's always like. Oh my! Even when I travel like to events,
Hmm.
I'm to the event. I go back to my hotel. I DoorDash half the time. Like I don't. They're always like, we want to live through you, vicariously through you, but you're just so boring. I'll go to Vegas and same thing, nothing. I don't.
Yeah.
I've been there so many times, but um, I follow. I like Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Mm-hmm.
I love him and his YouTube. Ed Milet's good. I like
Yeah.
Brad Lee. A lot of what he does. trying to think of the guy's name now too. I like Patrick David Bett.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Really good guy, former Army guy, military. I really resonate with him and how he thinks. And there's another guy, and I can't think of his name. I could see him. It's like Martell.
Oh, Dan Martell.
Yes, Dan
Yeah.
Martell. I
Yeah.
like him. Yep.
Yeah. No, there's some good, it's funny, the
Mhm.
coaching space and influencer space, whatever, is funny because you'll see these people peak, but then there's always these new guys coming on.
Mhm.
And yeah, those are some really good ones. It's funny, I met Bradley at a dinner one time and I was like, this dude is like my favorite. Like he's just such a like a dude, like so
Yeah, he
humble
is.
actually.
Yeah.
And you hear different things about all these guys, but especially when you work in the industry, like I was always behind the curtain, like seeing
Right.
behind the scenes stuff. But I really liked him. There was stuff I learned from his talk that I still just like it goes off in my head. And those are the ones that, the
Yeah.
ones that really stick with you. Okay, so I want to make sure that people know that even if they maybe like if they're in real estate, different team, whatever, you have ways that you can help them. So just tell us a little bit about your training course. This is not
Mhm.
just for people on your team, but it's for people in real estate, anywhere, whichever, like brokerage or
Yeah.
anything, right?
Absolutely. So funny thing is, I partner with Bradley,
Oh,
and
okay.
he at Lightspeed in
Yes.
Vegas, and so my training platform is with them. So
Oh,
they're the
that's the
back
best
end.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my academy, well, I call it a university. So Rainmaker University is designed for real estate agents to log in and train anytime, anywhere they need it. And I have videos on there where I'm teaching you how to prospect, what to say to people, how to structure your day, marketing plan. My book is on there where you could purchase my book, but then I have over 38 courses on there. So agents can just jump in and they can randomly just go through the course if they want. And then I have also what we call a Kickstart program, which is an 8-week scheduled program. So you just log in, you do what basically the program tells you to do, and it has, courses and then action items, another course, action items. So it's allowing you to watch the training, then you got to implement what's taught to you, right? And that's for
Cool.
8 weeks. And of course, there's a spot or a package where you can hire me, and I will take you through the 8-week course where
Oh,
I'll be on
cool.
a Zoom call with you once a week for 1 hour, and we'll go over your week, and we'll go over the
Nice.
following week of training, and that will go on for 8 weeks. And
That's
it's good. I
awesome.
have a monthly membership, and it's really cheap. I mean, it's like $39 for a
Oh,
monthly
wow.
membership. If you want to do like the coaching kickstart, a couple $100. It's not that
Wow.
much.
Oh,
So
that's killer. I mean, especially just because in my career, I've been the one who's created the programs and priced them. I'm like, damn, that's a good deal.
yeah.
And I mean, I
Mhm.
would say for anybody who does that, I should almost probably just make you a little testimonial.
Yeah, that'd be
You don't mind
awesome.
with Dave coaching you because people
Right.
like, I mean, I've done it, bought courses and things, and it's tough to be motivated enough or most people aren't structured enough to log in and watch it and do it
Right.
consistently and finish it.
That's right.
And so I think having somebody like you with them live, going through the process with them and holding them accountable would be just a great deal. So I love that.
Yeah, and that's a good point you brought up. We had partnered with a big brokerage, real big a Coldwell Banker franchise here,
Mm.
and that's what they did. They bought into Rainmaker and they brought us in, but they didn't want to just have it. They said, no,
Yeah.
no, no, because we know agents are not going to get in there routinely, as you said. You're right on
Yeah.
it.
It's
So
just human
we need you to
behavior.
coach them.
Yeah.
So they basically bought the Kickstart piece, and we were able to we kind of adjusted things for their programs, like we
Uh-huh.
included their stuff, which they really liked. And then my team and I met with them once a week, same thing. And then we had a midweek check-in, and then we
Mhm.
provided the reports to their leadership. So
Mm.
Lightspeed, the back end there, man, there's so much you could do where the leadership of firms, like if you're a firm and you're looking for a training program, this would be great too, because we could take them through the 8-week kickstart, and then we can send you as leaders the reports of what they're doing or what they're not doing. You
Yeah.
know, so that was big for them. But yeah, we've
That's
got,
really cool.
yeah.
I
Mhm.
love that. I love that. You know, when someone has created something in their life, I think one of the best things we can do is share it, like how we got there. And so I love
Hmm.
that you've invested your own money to create these materials for people. And, you know, it's so cost effective. So it's like, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, last kind of question as we wrap up, just like to leave on kind of a, I don't know, a motivational note. What would you say to the person who is maybe like thinking about like, hey, like maybe I should get into real estate? Like, is there a piece
Mhm.
of advice you'd give them, like from everything you've learned, going back to your old self that was just getting out of the military, getting into real estate? Like, is there
Mhm.
like one nugget that you would give them?
Oh, one nugget. I would just say be ready to um you've got to be ready to grind. And because it's not what everybody thinks it is. I think people get on social media and they see, top agents and they've got coaching programs like mine and they're thinking, oh, well, that's all, that they're dressed nice, they drive nice cars, they live in
Yeah.
these nice houses.
Selling beautiful houses.
Yeah, exactly right. And I have sold, $50,000 houses and trailers and you name it. I've done it all. And,
Yeah.
it's a lot more of a blue collar type industry that people don't realize. You're just not getting your hands dirty, but mentally it's going to drain you. But you've got to grind through it. You got to have grit, and just it's not as easy as everybody thinks it is. So
Yeah.
just
And
be
I
ready.
actually I think that's such good advice. You know, because that instant gratification just it's not really a thing.
Mm-mm,
If you
no.
want that, go get an ice cream cone.
Absolutely right. In real estate, even if it's instant, so even if today I joined real estate and I was lucky and you were my buddy and you said, oh, Dave, I want to buy a house, we're still not going to get paid for another 35, 40 days. I'm not. I mean, so it's still some time. So you've got to understand it's more of a long-term business and but you got to do a lot of things daily,
Yeah.
consistently to have the flexible life that most agents think they're going to get. I can work from home, I could do whatever. And that's what you hear all the time. Like, I want to be my own boss because I just want to work from home. The problem
Yeah.
is the flexibility comes from the discipline first. So once you're disciplined, the flexibility comes where I don't have to work today, but I know I'm going to work Sunday. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, right. Or I'm going to go to my kids' games today from, like we do, like maybe at 6 o'clock, but I know I got to get home and 8 o'clock, I got to get on a Zoom or 8 o'clock. That's the flexibility.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
not working when you don't want to all the time.
Yeah.
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 That doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. Well, I love that. Thank you so much. I feel like you shared so many valuable things and I mean just so much mindset pieces and just the stuff that goes into
Mhm.
really, you know, being successful and building a team and leadership. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome. I can do this all day. Me and you would just talk
Me
all day.
too. I know we could just be talking all day.